Everyone. Good morning. Welcome to a thought-provoking discussion on raising the bar, reimagining customer service for a more productive public sector. Today is going to be a very special day for all of us because we have the opportunity to grow from from the knowledge that we'll be getting from our esteemed panelists. So I want to just thank you all for braving the rain. I also want to say, also thank God that we are here. I always want to give thanks to God, the fact that we are here and we are able to sit here and listen and participate. I want to thank our Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Augusto de Razor. I want to acknowledge the presence of our Permanent Secretary, Ms. Esther Rigobert. Thank you very much for your presence here with us today. I would like to just take the opportunity to introduce our moderator, Ms. Nelsia Shalmine. I'm looking forward, and I think we're all looking forward to a very interesting and dynamic panel discussion. With no further ado, I would like to ask our Cabinet Secretary to come up to give the opening remarks. Thank you, everyone.
Excuse me. Good morning, everyone. Let me recognize the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Ms. Esther Rigobert, the Director of the National the Productivity Council, Mrs. Lisa Flora Montut. Excuse me. I also want to recognize Mrs. Signa Matthew Makarevich, the Senior Policy Analyst in the Office of the Prime Minister. We also have in our midst the Deputy Accountant General, Mrs. Sharon James, our moderator, distinguished panelists, members of the audience listening here, and those of you listening online, a pleasant morning to you. Permanent secretaries, heads of departments, government employees, representatives from the private sector, representatives from the various associations and unions, members of the panel, everyone who has tuned in to watch or listen to this panel discussion, welcome to our first panel discussion on effective customer service in the public sector under the theme, Raising the Bar, Reimagining Customer Service for a More Productive Public Sector. Indeed, this is a momentous occasion because today we have the opportunity to expand our thinking on how we can reimagine and improve our customer service in both the public and private sector. Through guidance of our learned panelists and the input of our invitees. This topic, reimagining customer service, should be of interest to everyone because at some point we have all felt the painful sting of bad customer service. Today, we have an opportunity to examine our modus operandi and become the drivers of the change that we wish to see. I believe that the quality of customer service can either make or break an organization. It is often said that the real negative impact of one unhappy customer is tenfold because he or she is likely to relate their bad experience to 10 other persons and so on. It was Bill Gates who said, and I quote, "Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning," unquote. In the Office of the Prime Minister, we have recognized the need to improve the customer experience of the members of the public. And hence, we initiated the first Customer Service Enhancement Program. This program aims to improve the customer service provided to members of the public. It was piloted in the Department of Physical Development and Urban Renewal in the year 2019. And since its inception, we have worked with the Department of Physical Development and Urban Renewal to improve both the internal and external customer service experience. At this juncture, we are working with a team of representatives from the various departments and ministries in government and associations such as the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association, the National Council of and for Persons with Disabilities, and the National Council of and for Older Persons on a policy to improve the customer service that is offered to persons with disabilities and older persons. A policy of this nature is imperative to ensure that in our quest to improve the customer service, no one is left behind. As we move forward into the panel discussion, I want us to be mindful that no matter our rank in a public or private organization, we have the ability to improve our customer service and make a positive impact to the customer service experience that is being offered by our organization. Helen Keller said, and I quote, "The world is moved not only by the mighty shows of the heroes, but also by the aggregate of the tiny pushes of each honest worker," unquote. Every smile and action from a helpful employee, every improvement to policies and processes, the mere willingness to go above and beyond for a customer makes a positive impact in the lives of the people that we serve. Today, let us challenge ourselves to think outside the box and find solutions that can ameliorate our customer service dilemmas. George Eliot said, and I quote, "What do we live for if not to make life less difficult for each other?" Unquote. The economy, the well-being of our nation is affected by our willingness or unwillingness to find solutions and resolve our customer issues. Right now, we have been given a golden opportunity to discuss and rethink our customer service practices. Let us embrace this opportunity fully and work towards creating a customer service experience that will leave our clients satisfied and grateful for the interaction with our organizations. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. DeGazo. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to those in the room. Good morning to those viewing on the National Television Network or via YouTube or Facebook. My name is Nelsia Charlemagne. I am a communications professional, and my experience spans broadcast and print and digital media, public relations, and everything in between. I think above all, and in this context, I am, like all of you are, a user of public sector services. And so this is the breadth of my experience. And so you might be asking, why are you here? I'm not here alone. I'm here with a very distinguished panel of men and women, a very balanced panel, who have the expertise, the knowledge, the experience to really delve into this thought-provoking discussion, as it's been aptly titled. And so if no further ado, I understand the limitations of today's weather. I am going to allow my lovely panel to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit more about who they are and why they are fit to discuss customer service with us. So we can start on the end with you, Ms. Alexander.
Good morning, everybody. Protocol has been established. My name is Rosalind Alexander. I am the manager of the Contact Center, Department of Public Sector Modernization. My background is in education, training, and IT. I once worked as a tertiary education teacher. I have always been interested in business process outsourcing, and hence the reason I got interested in the contact center, and I'm the manager right now.
Thank you.
I was asked to say who I am.
That's right.
Usually when I am asked that question, I say that I am a thought provoker for the betterment of human relationships. I go by the name of Dr. Ernest Otley. I am a human relations training specialist, also the incoming academic dean at the Monroe University, and former lecturer of psychology, management, and human relations at the South Louis Community College. I have founded the Human Relations Institute here in St. Lucia, and human relations is all about encompassing the idea of customer service as well. So I'm here to serve you today and explore this discussion. I hope it's a wonderful, thrilling learning experience.
Thank you so much, Mr. Otley.
Thank you, Dr. Ernest Otley. I am Betty Comby, Managing Director of Moores Inc., a training and consultant. Quality management focuses on customer satisfaction. And at Moores, we believe that you need to start off with the impact. The impact to customers. Good customer service is customer satisfaction.
Financial services sector for the better part of 32 years. I know I still look 32, but I have been in the sector for 32 years. And customer service is I live and breathe customer service on a daily basis. I'm a strong advocate for customer service. I believe that it's something that everybody should take very, very seriously. It can make or break a business. In terms of academic qualifications, master's degree in finance, first degree in accounting. So I'm very excited to be part of this discussion because, again, it's a novel discussion. And when I got invited by Cigna, I thought, wow, I mean, the public service actually talking about customer service. So this is new. So I want to commend the public service for having this discussion. And I thank the audience for coming because it's a very important discussion. And I hope we can shed some light on the topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Cecilia Fitz. I am a customer service training consultant. I offer my services both to the public service and to private sector. I am also a CVQ certified master trainer and master assessor in level 4. I'm a neuroscience coach. And for the last 37 years, many of you may know me as a cosmetologist. So I am very familiar in the area of service.
Additionally, I serve as a director at the St. Lucia Hospitality and Tourism Association. And just speaking about tourism, we all appreciate that one, tourism is the economic driver in St. Lucia, the main source of our economic growth. And also, folks will appreciate that within the realms of tourism, customer service is absolutely paramount because visitors have choices of the entire world where they can choose to go. From that standpoint, I am super excited about this panel discussion because it really gives us an opportunity to engage, to think deeper about what we can do here in St. Lucia, not only in the public service, but also beyond, in terms of being the absolute best that we can be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think all of you, I hope all of you are as impressed by the panel as I am already. I think everybody here is exceptionally qualified to have this discussion. I'm going to do my best to lead us through it, but this is your show. You are the subject matter experts, and so we're going to delve right into it. And Mr. Laura, I was struck when you said that you live and breathe customer service, and I think that it's something that is ingrained in the minds of people who work in your sector. You're dealing with customers on an everyday basis. You need them to survive. So from that springboard, Mr. Laura, how do you define excellent customer service? What does it look like in practice, both in your sector, which is a private sector, but also in the public sector?
Thank you for that question. Like I said, I've been in this service now for 30 odd years. And customer service for me is about creating an experience for the persons who walk through the credit union or business. It's not about just delivering a good or service. It's about the experience that somebody goes through, a member goes through from the time they walk into the building. At my institution, everybody is involved in customer service, from the security guard. You must smile. You must be courteous. When you get to the counter, so you're already feeling the vibe of Jean. You're already being part of the family. So is that experience that a member now I use member because at my credit union it's members, so you're part of it. But a customer feels that they are valued, that they belong, and that after that experience, they feel comfortable in telling somebody that I went to this establishment, I felt comfortable, I felt welcome, I felt that I was valued. So that's what customer service is for me, is that experience makes you feel valued, and you want to spread the word about what you experience within that institution. So that for me is the epiphany of good customer service. Yeah.
And Ms. Alexander, as someone in the public sector, what does excellent customer service look like for you, or what do you think what form should it take?
For me, customer service means meeting the needs of customers, meeting the needs of the citizenry. Where we are at the moment, we don't relate to persons face to face, but we use technology. And therefore, people call us using a toll-free number 311, and we give them guidance, we give them direction, and we more or less try to meet the needs as much as we can. We provide them with the necessary information that they require. So to us, having the customers satisfied is our main goal, and we ensure that the information that we provide is accurate, and that's important.
Okay. So these are two perspectives of what customer service looks like. Somebody who's more involved in the private sector, someone who is in the public sector. Technical difficulties. But is having that interaction with the public. And I think we can go on and on about what we think customer service should look like, but it'll take us the entire day. And I'm sure all of you also have your own perspectives as individuals, even away from your role in the public sector, of what good customer service should look like. But a big part of our discussion this week is about productivity. And how does good customer service tie into productivity within the public sector? And so, Ms. Combi, as someone who's been working a lot with stakeholders in the public sector, how do you see customer service as a critical driver of productivity? And how does it improve the services? And how does that sort of service culture, and I know that's something that you might be very familiar with, benefit citizens and our economy?
You know, I'm currently working on a project with the National Competitive and Productivity Council. And one part of that project is we're doing training entitled Enhancing Business Productivity. Now, in that training, the formula we promote for productivity is total useful outputs over total inputs. Now, I want us to focus on that useful outputs, because you're not being productive if what you're producing is not useful. So these are producing things that are fit for the intended purpose. But the intended purpose is for whom? Mm-hmm. The intended purpose is for the customer, right? So right away you realize for you to be able to deliver the right thing to the customer, you need to communicate with the customer. Yeah? If you have to communicate with the customer, this is about establishing a relationship. Mm-hmm. And for all of us, we know that relationships are enhanced when you show respect to people. And this is what it's about, you know. It's respect for the person at the receiving end. Mm-hmm. And so you do that, then you are sure to get the accurate input for you to be able to deliver the right output.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody's taking notes. I hope that you've taken down Ms. Combi's formula. If you would like to repeat it for the lovely people again.
It is total useful outputs over total inputs. And the word is the useful. The useful means that it is fit for the intended purpose, and that purpose is for the customer. And we must remember that you cannot offer a service if somebody is not at the receiving end. You have the job because there is a customer. Okay. And so there is a value and an appreciation we need to show for the customer. And I think that's one of the places we're lacking. We're not understanding that without the customer, we have no jobs, we have no businesses, we have no service to offer.
Right. And I think, Mr. Elliott, you would know very well that without the customer, you don't have the job. And so the same sort of question to you, how does customer service drive productivity? And your perspective would obviously come from a private sector, but what's your perspective on it all?
Okay, thanks so much for that question. Even before seeking to answer the question, I think it's really important from the perspective especially of the public service for us to ask ourselves, why deliver good customer service? Because we have a choice to deliver it or not to deliver it. And I think that more than 50% of our population may have the feeling that the public service does not deliver good customer service. So if we start out from that standpoint, and maybe that's a place that we can start with people coming into the public service, we then realize that good customer service leads to greater output, greater productivity, greater customer satisfaction, greater economic growth within our country. These are the things that we want. These are the things that will serve us well. If I bring it back now to the hospitality service, hospitality industry, again, just like I stated earlier on, folks have a choice. But more importantly than that, quite often folks are coming to St. Lucia from a place where they are used to a particular level of customer service. They're then going to go out if they don't get something that's commensurate, taking into account the idiosyncrasies of our islands, you know, the rain can fall, it can hold things back, etc. But if they don't get what they consider to be good service, then we pay the price, we in the country. Again, when we come back to public service, what are some of the conditions that are in place when good customer service is not delivered? I think it's important for us to also be looking at that, because without penalties, without guardrails, then there's no change, there's no improvement. So I've come at it from a tangential position and also sort of stoking thought, which is what I always aim to do. Thank you.
Right. And you see how all of these perspectives come together. It's a very complex discussion. Let's not pretend that we're going to snap a finger and when we come back to work on Monday, everybody in the public service would have listened to this panel and changed their mindset. There is a lot of work to do, and this is the starting point of it all. And I think a group of people who have a big role to play in changing that mindset and reimagining customer service are the leaders and the managers within the different public sector agencies and whatnot. And so, Ms. Fitz, as someone you own a business, you've been working with people, what role should leaders and managers play in modeling and championing that culture of service excellence in the public sector?
I believe that leaders really have a crucial responsibility when it comes to excellent customer service. It must start with them, because leaders are the ones who have to set the guidelines, mainly from customer relationship management standpoint, to be able to put standards and practices in place that all must follow. The other thing I think that leaders must be able to do is to set the tone as to what the mission is for the organization. What are our goals? What are we trying to accomplish when it comes to customer service? Because one of the things I found that doing training for the public service, one of the questions I always ask at every training session, what is the mission of government? Many persons don't know. So if they don't know the mission, are their core values in line with what the government of St. Lucia is trying to accomplish? And I think that must be clear. Everyone working within the public sector must know what the mission statement is and put into practice what is necessary for accomplishing those missions and those goals. The other thing I think that managers must set the tone for is to really understand the consumer behavior. I think when we understand the consumers that we deal with, we can put plans in place. We can set the journey, which is what I call customer centricity, which is where you really design a plan to create a wonderful experience, not just for the customers, but for those who are rendering the service to the customers on a daily basis. I think a lot of times leaders are really not aware of the daily challenges that customer service providers face. And I think that is important for putting corrective actions in place to avoid future errors in some of these areas. So I think managers really need to have their ears on the ground. And I think managers also have another responsibility to ensure that the correct personalities are recruited for the roles, because not everyone is cut out to working with people. I'm a lover of people. I love working with people. I think that's what has kept me in my business for the last 37 years. But we must admit, not all archetypes are the same. So during the recruitment process, I think it's very important to select the correct personalities when it comes to customer service, because customer service agents are the ones who set the tone. Anything that goes wrong at that level, it takes a lot of work to undo and to change the mindset of someone who have already received a bad impression about the entire organization. So I think that should really be some of the responsibilities of managers, to champion good customer service.
I think a lot of what Ms. Fitz said, I saw somebody clapping and I feel like all of us should clap, because it really, it really hits a lot of notes, and everybody really isn't cut out for customer service. And I think as leaders, whoever in the room, whoever is listening is a leader, that is some critical reflection that you need to do. Are the people you are putting at the front desk and behind the counters, are they fit for purpose? Dr. Otley, I want to come to you, and based on your very diverse and varied and relevant experience, how realistic or how easy do you think it is to put into practice some of the things that Ms. Fitz mentioned when it comes to almost reprogramming how we approach as leaders?
You would not believe how tough that question is to respond to, especially since some of what was said in terms of selecting the right people for customer service positions, that is not something that I think I hold very dearly as a concept. And everything that I say to you today, respond to you, is going to be within the context of human relations and its applicability to the family, the community, the workplace, the nation. And so I would need to go back to your very first question as to what customer service is. Mm-hmm. And I believe that customer service, first and foremost, is an attitude. Customer service is an attitude to be an agent for assisting others with their needs. Plain and simple. And that person, those others could be family members, could be your colleagues, and so on. And I want to make sure that we understand that from the attitudinal perspective, because the production of good or excellent customer service really starts from within the individual. It is a highly subjective thing. And so I often remark to trainees and so on that there are not 2, but 3 types of customers. We know about the internal ones, those that we work with, the external ones, those that we serve from outside of the organization, but there's the intra-customer. That customer is yourself. How do you treat yourself? As a person, Ms. Fitz made mention to managers needing to know the kinds of things that the customer service agents do. Here's the idea. You cannot give what you don't have. Mm-hmm. And so if you do not provide good customer service to yourself, there is no way that as a person you can provide it to anyone else. Customer service is both an art and a science. It has its artistic, subjective components, and its technical components. As a TVET Level 4 assessor, we look for competence, what you're able to do, as well as how you are able to of your own self and with your own attitude, bring yourself to doing what is necessary to serve others. So the definition for customer service as someone having the attitude to be an agent of assistance to others is very, very critical. To be that agent and to have that attitude, it calls for self-esteem. And when I walk around, when I look at people who are providing customer service, you don't have to be a customer service agent to provide customer service. We want every employee in the public sector, in the private sector, in the home, to be an agent of customer service. That is what it is essentially.
Right.
So when you look at that perspective or look at customer service from that perspective, you are able to build your esteem. Self-esteem means that you can do something. There's the doing part of it, and there's the respect part of it, as Mrs. Comby has said. So we need to be able to develop a sense of self-esteem. Self-esteem adds to productivity. It gives us confidence. It helps us to be aware of others and our service to other people, because we understand it from ourselves. We have that attitude. And that is what I would respond to you.
Yeah. And you did say it would be a complicated question to answer. And the response is really comprehensive. It's very packed. I think especially the leaders who are listening will have some thinking to do this weekend. It's raining, so you can stay inside and think, and then see how you're going to approach reimagining customer service, because Dr. Otley is saying something that I had not thought of, that it starts with self-esteem. How do your employees feel about themselves? Do they think that they are fit for purpose? Because, you'd like to come on in. It's a conversation.
Though, when I listen to Dr. Otley, it just moved me to share a thought, though. It really starts also with the sort of value that you place on customer service. When you understand the value of customer service, you tend to appreciate who you will select to deliver that service. And it's a problem that we faced in banking a few years ago, because I'm a former banker. And what we took our model from Canadian banks who were choosing to put older, qualified persons on the front line as opposed to new recruits. Because traditionally, what you find in the St. Lucian context is that you would find SAFA graduates or younger people on your front line. Now, if you really value your front line and you want to create the best experience, why are your least qualified, least experienced persons handling customers? And the Canadians figured it out long before. They said, let us change this. They placed a high value on that interaction, so they ensured that the best persons, the most experienced persons were placed on the front line, and that just transformed the experience altogether. So food for thought, understand again the value that you place on customer service and who you are charging with that responsibility to deliver that service. So, yeah, thank you.
Go ahead.
I am so pleased with that remark. I would like to also add that customer service has one heartbeat, as far as I am concerned, not just working in customer service, but training in customer service. And I believe the heartbeat of customer service is empathy. These are skills, soft skills, that I think needs to be looked at during the recruitment process. The other one is effective communication. People in the front line must be able to communicate effectively. They must be effective listeners. They must also practice good negotiation skills, because customer service is really involved in a lot of negotiation. That is how you de-escalate sometimes conflicts between a customer and a service provider. And like you correctly said, sometimes we pick up, because this person is new on the job, we drop them in customer service and they are ill-informed as to what the organization is doing. Sometimes they do not have autonomy to make decisions. Sometimes they do not know who to refer the customer to. Because I believe that effective customer service or excellent customer service is the care, the advice, the empathy that we give to customers at the first point of contact. Even if you are not able to resolve the customer issue at the first point of contact, but you could at least give them a start. Look, we can't do this today, but this is where we start. And I think most customers would be happy with that. So when a customer service agent is informed, they are more likely to give proper advice to the customers. And I think if in the public service, this is one of the gaps that must be bridged. And that can be bridged by having regular briefing sessions. Is one of the things that I recommend when I do training with a lot of the departments that I have worked with so far in the public service. At least weekly briefings. If a situation happens, something escalated between a customer and a service representative, I believe everybody in the department should be aware and to come up with a plan that, look, this is what we should do if this should ever happen in the future. That alone, I think, can increase productivity. So I'd just like to share that.
And then we'll come to you.
Yes, I am very thrilled with all of the technical aspects of customer service that are coming out, and what we should do in terms of our employees and so on, and people who practice customer service. However, I must keep pointing us back to the individual. It is not persons who are charged with the job and the duty of customer service who are necessarily engaged in practicing customer service on a daily basis. The internal customer, your colleague, is a customer. How do you meet your deadlines? Is that good customer service? What's your punctuality like? That is providing customer service. If you are late for work every day, and your internal customer has to pick up your slack, you are not providing proper customer service. And these things are critical. Is almost hypocritical if you are wearing a scowl to your internal customer, and then when you turn around from abusing your internal customer, you smile for the external customer. It is hypocritical. And what needs to happen is that everybody, and we are talking about the workplace here because we are looking at productivity and so on, but it is so internal and integral to the individual that you can tell the practice of your customer service at home because it is attitudinal, so it's going to be carried with you into the workplace. Right. So what we want not to do is to have hypocritical, technical-only customer service. Okay. As a nation, we want every potential employee, so from primary school, secondary school, tertiary education, in the workplaces, we want everybody to understand that we must practice the attitude of serving and assisting others, be agents for that kind of thing. So that has forced me to develop the concept called SAIL. SAIL means self-awareness, attitude adjustment, interpersonal relations, which is where customer service will fall, and leadership. It all begins with the self. Self-awareness. Again, you cannot give what you don't have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Otley. Yeah, he wants the SAIL acronym.
All right. SAIL means self-awareness, which leads to attitude adjustment, which leads to interpersonal relationships, and then that results in leadership. So self-awareness, attitude adjustment, interpersonal relations, and leadership.
So what I'm getting out of SAIL is that you really have to think it to be it.
You really have to be it to be it.
Mr. Elliott, I think you wanted to chime in as well. This conversation is going swimmingly.
Agreed. And actually, that's what I wanted to pick up on. One, Dr. Oakley, I've been like, ooh, you hit the nail on the head, and it just sparked off such a lovely conversation. And just before you gave your initial answer, your initial response, I'd been thinking to myself about customer service and the fundamentals of it, and that those fundamentals actually start out from the home. And if we have persons who are coming from fractured homes and then coming into the work environment, and the fact that they're coming out of a fractured home can be exacerbated by the culture within the public service. So you come in and there are persons who are senior to you who you see flagrantly breaking the rules, coming to work late, not being productive, and not being fair sometimes in the treatment that they mete out internally. So those are core issues at play. And one of the concerns that I have with productions like this is that they can just be filler. So it's space that's on YouTube, it's something that someone can look at. But do we go away and internalize and say, ask the question, how can we be better? And something that I always think about, and I say to folks as well in business, and in life in general, if every one of us were to treat the other person better than we would like to be treated ourselves, we would hardly have any problems in this world. And I think that this can be a great takeaway within the public service, where we know that productivity tends to be quite lower than in the private sector, that if folks really take that to heart, and we all really look at that, how can I interact with someone and treat them better than I would like for myself? Just that single action will really take us to a whole other level. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just wanted to add to, again, enjoying the discussion here. With regard to attitude and understanding that competence is what you're aiming for, which is your ability to get your desired results. It's a combination of things. It is your qualification, it is your training, it is your experience, it is your skills, but more important, it is your attitude. We must remember that. You might be coming in very qualified, but do you have the right attitude to support what Ernest was listening? To support what Kirk was saying, Kirk, I like to say, treat people as they would like to be treated. I call it the platinum rule. Don't assume that what works for one person works for another person. And that's why that communication is the lifeblood of any relationship. You have to take time to understand what people's expectations are. You know, my husband and I do sharing with other couples with regard to marriage. And one of the things we tell people, it is not love that hurts, you know. It is these expectations that hurt when they don't deliver on the expectations. So again, treat people as they would like to be treated, but you must first understand how they want to be treated.
Great. And this is thought-provoking indeed. That is our descriptor today. I think all of you have a lot to take back home with you, and we're only just getting started. But this conversation is happening because the leaders in the public service, the users of public sector services, have identified that there is a gap. I am not going to ask any of you to tell me what you think the gaps are. I want all of you and the audience to listen to what the users of public services have identified as the gaps in customer service. And so the amazing team at the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council hit the streets, bed the weather, and to get some of those comments from the public. And so I'm going to ask everybody to turn their attention to that right now.
The public sector service is not good at all. Sometimes you go there from 8 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock, you see nobody to give you the service you needed, right? Everybody walking on their own time, right? And they sit and they see you sit down, they'll pass you straight.
I do like it, and if I had to rate it, it would be maybe a 7 or 8 out of 10, because 8 times out of 10, they're very kind, very nice, very helpful. The other times, maybe a little harsh, maybe bad day, they have a little. And it's understandable sometimes because I know myself, I don't listen most times. So a little harshness might set me straight. So overall, I think it's okay, and maybe a little bit more improvement, controlling your emotions and everything. Yeah.
Okay, I believe it can always be improved. And I also believe that with training, proper training, maybe you can hire some consultants to improve the service, which would ultimately improve the productivity in the customer service, in the public sector.
So my experience, it hasn't been too bad, but I believe that they can sometimes be slow, and that really needs an improvement. There really needs to be an improvement when it comes to that, because not all the time that we St. Lucians can handle that, and we know each other, and that can get not peaceful in ways. So I believe that the government, or there should be some type of training, more training when it comes to customer service in St. Lucia.
Customer service in the public sector sucks. It's it's really bad. It's like sometimes you go there, you want to get some information or get some service that people think that you're on that time. They're not obligated to, they're not in a hurry to attend to you, as if you're begging. So customer service in the public sector needs some change. They need a revamp. They need workshops. Let them learn customer training for customer service. Just like they normally give us regular training on customer service, I think the public sector needs that.
There's room for improvement. For one, if we are trying to keep up with the rest of the world, for example, we have people are traveling much more these days. We have people coming from all over the world, and they expect a certain standard of customer service. You have people, you go into certain stores and they're lackadaisical. They don't want to serve you. They're on their own time. They don't know what products they have. They don't know if they have it or if they'll be able to when they will have it, bring it back into it. So I think that education, for one, if you're working in an establishment that's offering customer service, offering a public service, you should know your product. You should know what you have and what you don't have in the store. You should be able to inform your customer when you will have the product and when they can come back and get it. I know you're having a bad day, but a smile, it doesn't hurt. It really improves your day.
Well, yes, I think it can be good at times, but there are some people that be really petty. Like, you come to them with like $20 in cents, they won't take it, they'll just send you back. But I think you should be accepting of every customer. It doesn't matter what they do. Fair solutions need to work on that as a whole.
Anything that you have to go and do via the government buildings, wherever that you have to go, customer service is very poor. growing up as a young girl, it used to be good. Right now, I'm a grown woman, and the service is not good at all. Anything you have to go and do, it's a whole hour, 3 hours, and that's not right. And the government need to do something about that to improve that service. You go other Caribbean islands, other countries, and you get your thing done now for now. St. Lucia alone, that problem is. You have to do something, you go to the ministry there, a long hour. You go there, you're a long hour. Even the hospital now, forgive me for saying that, but OKU hospital, my God. I mean, St. Joe's is a little better. When you go to OKU, you go in the morning, you come in out there all after midnight, and it is wrong. Something needs to be done. I don't know how they can work it out, but they should do something to try and work it out.
Customer service, this is a big chapter. This is a big question. This is a broad topic. This is one area that is lacking a lot in the public sector. And maybe lack of knowledge might be the downfall in that area. But really and truly, as a customer at many of the departments, there are persons who really try, and there are persons who may not value and understand the true value of a customer. So customer service in the public sector, I said, really need a little bit of touching up, if not a lot of touching up to do when it comes to the manner in which that we serve, deal with, and take care of each other. We need to care for each other.
Does anything in this 6-minute long video surprise you? If you cannot hear at home, the answer is no. To the panel, is there anything in this video that sounded like a new problem to you? Not at all.
They could have been on the panel.
And so the public have been telling us what the issues are. This isn't new to anybody. You hear complaints all the time about, I'm calling up government office and nobody answering the phone, or not to call government offices after 2:30 because that's it. I'm not the one saying it, people.
So let me just respond to that. I think this type of conversation with the public will continue because what the public is really telling the public sector that you're not listening to us. And I think one of the most important ways to start rendering service to the customers is by first listening. A lot of times when there is conflict between a customer service rep and a customer, we see this as just a conflict. And I say sometimes the solution is in the conflict. If you take, for example, and your husband quarrel all the time and he always say to you, you're not listening, it means that you are not an effective listener. It may come across as negative at the time because your emotions are all hyped up. But if you would take some time to process the words people are saying to you, you will actually get the solution because they are really telling you what the solution should be. It's in the conflict. One of the things that I believe that when I said earlier on, we must understand our customers, our customer behavior. I think I could say this because I'm a St. Lucian, that from my experience, I believe that many of us are in survival mode. The rest are operating in fear. When people are in survival mode, they are not able to think creatively. Among all the species that have been created on this earth, anytime any of them feel threatened or they're in survival mode, their first reaction is to launch an attack. And so customer service reps, I really believe, needs extra training apart from just customer service. They need personal development training to be able to understand the mindset. Many of them may be emotionally aware, but are they able to regulate those emotions? Are they able to listen to what the customer is saying and to be able to calm the customer's anxiety? I always say you never roar at a roaring lion. When a customer is upset, allow them to vent their grievances before offering a solution. Because 90% of the time when a customer is venting their grievances, they already know what they want. And you trying to tell them something else will only create conflict. So it's being aware of the customer behavior. I did some training earlier this year with the immigration department, and I remember the sergeant saying to me, most of the customers are coming here ready for us. And I said to him, rightfully so, because they have to walk up these steps only to find out when they get up these steps. And for me, it was a very scary experience going to immigration department. I'm a menopausal woman suffering from dizziness. So going up these steps was a very scary experience, only to get there and for someone to tell me today is not collections day. How am I supposed to know that when this information is not disseminated publicly? The other thing I said to him, if you understand the time of year when you have more angry customers, it's usually closer to the vacation time when people plan a vacation for their family, they realize the passport is expired. These are the times that customers coming with the most anxiety because they are afraid they will not get what they want. So if you understand that, you do the briefing with your staff to make them understand, look, that's the time of year, it's busy, we have customers coming in anxiously. We can calm their anxieties by knowing what they are dealing with.
Preparation.
Be prepared.
Okay. So we'll come to you in a minute. But having listened to that video, there were a lot of recurring themes. People spoke about a lack of promptness. They spoke about the mentality of the workers. They felt that their services, their needs were not important. A lot of mention of training and workshops, which is kind of counterproductive to Dr. Otley's perspective that it all begins with the attitude. And so, Dr. Otley, I want to ask you, how do you think we shift that sort of mindset that might be already existing to one that focuses on empathy, like Ms. Fitz mentioned earlier, responsiveness and problem solving?
I'm going to tie all of what has been said up in this little discourse with you. I have defined human relations, which includes customer service, as a focus on self-development for self-regulation to achieve successful interactions with others.
You have an acronym for that one?
It's the definition. All right? So, a focus, emphasis on self-development. For what? So that we can have self-regulation. We can call it emotional intelligence, we can call it empathy, we can call it anything we want. It is just so that we can regulate, we are developed enough so that we can regulate our behaviors in response to our interactions. And we want to have successful interactions with others. Now, persons, when I ask what is a successful interaction, they say, well, one in which the customer is satisfied, or one in which we are okay, the customer gets what they want. That is not a successful interaction. A successful interaction is one in which both parties, at the end of the interaction, is willing to re-engage in future interactions. So I may come to the public service department or some public sector department, and I may not get what I want. But my reaction, based on what I encounter with the attendant, does not make me want to say, I want to have nothing to do with that person again. I will not ever go back to that department and, it's a government department, so I don't have a choice. Yes, but that should not be the response. That makes it an unsuccessful interaction.
Because that's something that I want to eventually bring up with all of you, because my passport expires. I have to go to the passport office. I cannot go anywhere else to do it. if I am dissatisfied in a private sector, I go to a restaurant and I don't like the service, I don't have to come back.
That's right. So that's an unsuccessful interaction.
But I have no choice. None of us have any choice. It is the only place to do it. And so maybe that's something for us to think about. And we might not have the answers here right now, but is it why a change hasn't been made? Because there's nowhere else to go.
Listen, anything you tell me today, I'm going to get back to the, yes, I'm going to get back to the individual. And I want to say that we have to get our individuals, everybody, to the point, especially those front-facing agents, who, I like this phrase, who are able to tell people to go to hell in such a way that they enjoy the journey. Now, it is very critical that we are able to develop people and develop ourselves to the point where we care enough to whether to make the interaction successful enough that the public does not have this kind of thing to say.
I see you taking the mic, so I'm going to ask you the question I was going to ask you.
No, I want to follow up on that individual thing, which is so important. And I think if we leave here, we need to leave with that. So this is another perspective as it relates to the individual. Again, satisfaction is about value. People have to feel they got something out of the interaction. People who are not getting anything out of the interaction is going to break the interaction and not come back, right? It's about value.
Unless you don't have a choice.
Well, no, but let's talk about, now this thing about not having a choice. We have to be careful, public servants have to be careful that don't assume that job is safe anymore.
Right.
There are a lot of changes that government can make that can privatize a job. And I think that we have to get out of that, to think that that job will always be there and will always be the one in the job. So this is about the individual creating value for repeat business. By the way, a plug-in for my book there, Working for Repeat Business. But let's go back to the individual. And this is another thing we share when we talk about quality management, is that each individual has a triple role. You must know, a triple role. You are one, a worker. They brought you in to work. You're a processor. You are delivering something to a customer or co-worker. That makes you a supplier. For you to do the work, you need information from the customer, from the co-worker. You need information resources. That makes you an internal customer. And like Dr. Otley said, all three of those roles have to be feeling value. And all three of the persons involved in those roles. So for you have the triple role, so you are delivering to somebody and they have to feel value. You too have to feel value. The person who is receiving stuff from you have to feel value. And so as we make the changes, I say to you, first identify your triple role. Understand who is at your supplier end, who is at the receiving end, the person you're receiving the stuff, who is providing you stuff, and whom are you providing stuff to. Understand what creates value for them and deliver on the value. Because our success, each of us, will depend on that value we are creating for the people within that triple role, period.
And we are focusing, and I think all of us appreciate the role of the individual, the triple role of the individual, and the place that you hold in this entire ecosystem of service and providing to others. And this is all well and good. But at the end of the day, I will argue that we still need some sort of strategy to turn this from an idea into practice. So what do you think are some practical, and if you'd like to take that, Mr. Celestin, I see you, some practical, low-cost strategies to achieve that?
Right, and I like the ideas that have been espoused by my colleagues, but I'm a bit more pragmatic in terms of application. I understand the individual and values, but from a business perspective, more pragmatic perspective, you must have standards. You must set standards. In the business world, we speak to service level standards. Let's not forget we are West Indians, and that's, sometimes we we need guidance, and we need a bit of rules to guide and to deliver service. If we depend solely on the individual to deliver the service, I think we will not get it done. So that's why service level standards come in. In the sector, we say that they must have turnaround time. You cannot expect to come to for a loan or for a check and wait indefinitely. You interact with customs, Ministry of Commerce. I remember once applying for a trade license, and when I asked how long will a trade license take, there were so many different definitions and cycle times. And I went to customs once, and about a month ago, just to clear a simple item, and it happened that a staff didn't show up. And I cannot tell you the chaos I experienced that day. I had to move from one end of customs to the other end of customs and come back to the other end because one staff, so you tell me that if one staff at customs doesn't show up, everything falls apart.
At least you didn't go at lunchtime.
Yeah, so it really starts with service level standards. And I remember a manager of mine once told me that you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So you must have...
You need your KPIs.
You need your KPIs, you need to monitor. And there's something in business called, again, consequence management. Is there a consequence in the public service of bad service? So if you deliver bad service consistently, are public servants under the impression that nothing happens? And it's almost like what obtains in a monopolistic operation, like you said earlier. So if you need a passport and you go to the passport office and there's nobody at work or people don't turn up, is there a consequence of that? And I like where Ms. Comey was going, because the world is opening up. And if you think you're going to relax as an employee and deliver bad service indefinitely and there's no consequence, you're really fooled. Look at what happened with Barbados, Grenada, Belize, and who's the fourth one? Dominica. Is it Dominica? Dominica, right. CSME and CARICOM is in full blast. St. Lucia might be well on the way to taking a similar move. And you're going to have persons more qualified than you coming into your space and applying for your jobs. So do you now relax and say it's okay to give bad service? So there are going to be serious consequences of that. So don't think you're just going to relax, come to work at 9 o'clock when you're supposed to be there at 8, treat customers badly, and there are no consequences. So for me, KPIs, you have definitive matrices that monitor and measure performance, and that there's a consequence, a very serious consequence for giving bad service.
Right, and so I was exposed a few years ago in some previous work that I did to the whole concept of monitoring and evaluation. Yes. And then in another line of work that I do, somebody really loves to repeat the phrase, what gets monitored gets done.
Yes, gets done, absolutely.
And so I think that these are some of the concepts that we have to take from this room here today and take it back to every single public sector office across this country to start making the changes. But we speak about strategies and we speak about training. What about the place of technology? Ms. Alexander, as somebody who's really involved in that.
The comments made, very concerning. Very concerning to me and to others who work in the service. There is continuous training. Probably what we need to do is, and of course there is proper screening. There is intensive a screening process in place for screening recruitment for persons coming into the service. Probably what we need to do is have a standardized customer service training across the board. What happens, each department does the little training. Now, I would like to add, it is probably 1% of the public service that gives poor service. I mean, I represent. At the contact center, what we do, all the calls are recorded. And we play them back randomly. We listen to them, we look at the strengths, we looked at the weaknesses of the agent who handled the calls. From the calls, we get to know what the concerns are out there, and we try to address it. This individual who walked up the fifth floor, had she called 311, which is a toll-free number, and probably we need to do more sensitization.
Right, yeah.
Had she called 311, she would have been told not to climb onto the fifth floor. Now, what happens when somebody calls 311 and we do not have the answer? We give them a call back. We do the little research. Okay, this person wants to go to immigration. She wants to know whether immigration is open, blah, blah, blah. We do the necessary research. We make the calls, and we give the person a call back. So, therefore, if you need any service from government, call 311. The calls are recorded. We play them back so that we can understand what our shortcomings are, what the needs are out there. Also, in the public service, we have a performance assessment yearly. And at the end of the performance assessment, there is an award system. We just had our performance award ceremony. So workers are awarded for good performance. Looking at, we initially looked at the face-to-face customer service. The technological side of the service, we have placed a lot of our services online. So persons applying for some services within government do not have to do the walk or climb the stairs.
Or travel to
Castries. They can simply sign up online on the DigiGov platform. And there are a number of services, over 154 services, that can be done in the comfort of their home. If they do not have Wi-Fi access, they can visit the nearest ICT offices, whereby there is an SBA agent there to assist them. So assistance can be provided to persons who are physically challenged, and persons who are not computer savvy. Okay. So we looked at the face-to-face communication, public sector modernization within government. We're looking at the technological side of providing service to the public.
Okay. And something that you mentioned stood out to me, and it was that a lot of the different departments are doing their own individual training sessions, their workshops. But government is one government. And so how do we break away from what some might consider a silo mentality? So, for example, education is doing their own, finance is doing their own, to kind of create that continuity and standard, like Mr. Laura mentioned.
Well, actually, there's a training department.
Okay.
There's a training department that handles the major. But in each department, depending on the needs of the department, depending on the service that that department provides, they do their little individual training.
Okay, so is that... I'm asking because I am, like I said, a user of public sector services and not a provider. Is the training, at least on the base level, standardized so that if I go to a different department, each worker should be providing me with the same level of...
Well, the training is provided by training department, so I think it is standardized.
Ms. Combi, you have a...
Yes. And so let's talk about the customer there and forming that relationship with the customer. The relationship is fostered if there is trust. And one of the elements of trust is consistency of delivery, right? And hence the word standardization coming in. So whoever comes in, whoever they meet, they experience a similar level of service, right? Again, to follow up on what we heard about service level standards, this, I think, has to start off, we're talking strategy. Start off with, and let's look at one department coming together and saying, what is the experience we want to give to the customer? We must be on the same page with that. And it is from that experience that you want to give the customer, you come up with your service standards and you come up with your KPIs. But everybody must be on the same page as what we consider to be a satisfactory service that we can consistently deliver. Once you decide on that, then your next step is map the customer's journey. You cannot understand the customer's perspective unless you walk in their shoes. And so the private sector, there's mystery shoppers. In the public, you need to walk the customer's journey. And along that journey, you have touch points. That's what they are, touch points. Those times you are interacting with the customer and say to your staff, listen, how can we show we care at those touch? It's simple, man, because I think we are hardworking people. I think that came from our colonial past. We are hardworking people. I just think we're not focused enough on the outcomes, the impact of what we're doing. And this is a simple matter of caring for the person at the receiving end. I remember I talk to gems. I call them gems. You know, these people who are just doing it well, getting the results they want, and you ask them, what's their formula? You know? And one person said to me, I just think of the customer as my relative. And what I'd want for my relative is what I'd want for the customer. You know, another person said to me, I say to myself, that's my face out there. Tomorrow I'm without a job, they're remembering my face. You know, it has to be... strategy.
It comes back.
Strategy starts off with the customer, right? What experience you want to give, making sure everybody's on the same page with that, setting the standards related to that and the performance indicators, but you must walk their journey.
Right. Before you continue, we are going to get ready to start taking some questions from the floor. So it can be based on what you've heard this morning. It can be a question that you had, a comment that you want to make. We really want this to be interactive. Right now, you're the customer and they're serving you. So the mic is in the middle. We're going to allow Ms. Fitz to make her comment, and then after her, Dr. Otley, if you can be succinct, and then we will come to all of you, yeah? Please don't make me, you know, like in school where you have to call names, I'll be calling departments and say finance, Mike.
As you introduce Ms. Fitz, just let me, because it's something that she said that I'm going to comment on, and I think we missed that point that she made. She said that we must understand the mission of each department. And here again, Mrs. Comby is saying it, Mr. Laura is saying it. We must understand that mission. It is in the mission that we get the goals. And one of the things that I can tell you is that goals motivate. If we want motivated employees, they must be able to see the goal, they must be able to see the targets, the standards that we are aiming for, that we can strategize for those, and they can work at the tactics level. So I wanted to thank Ms. Fitz for that.
Great. Go ahead.
So as it relates to training in the public service, I do some training for the public service. And one of the things that I would like to say, because I think somebody mentioned standardized training programs. Training is not a one-size-fits-all. Training is designed to suit a specific learning need. And so every department might have different challenges where the training has to be tailored to that particular learning need. So for example, if there is a changing technology, that may affect customer service. So the training has to be designed for that particular unit based on the need. One of the things that I find as a trainer, which is very disheartening in the public service, is that after training is done, who is monitoring those people when they go back to their various departments to ensure that the training is effective and they do not unfreeze? We know in organizational behavior, we have what you call the force field analysis, because people tend to go back to their old ways. So in change management, you always want to ensure once training is done, that the training is monitored, it is reviewed, and if there is need for retraining, then that has to be done. The other thing I think that's a gap that must be bridged in order to deliver effective customer service is what I call managing the customer's expectations. Whenever government is making changes, I find one of the last set of people to be involved in the decision making are the customers themselves. So government have to engage more in focus group, and that doesn't cost money. They can engage more in focus groups. They can engage more in collecting data and analyzing the data. One of the things I find that we need, and I don't know if Rosalind can answer that question for me. Are there safe spaces, and what are there for customers to launch their grievances and give their feedback? I know some of you say, well, we have suggestion boxes. If I just have a problem with somebody in a department where I need a favor from, where I need to get a document from, I'm not going to come there and put something in the suggestion box for them to know maybe it's possibly this suggestion came from her. There must be safe online spaces where people can go and launch their grievances, their complaints, whatever their issues might be, without the backlash of somebody knowing I was the one who launched that complaint. Because we know private sector does it. They have it on their website. With Amazon, you can always give a star, a 2-star, whatever it is, so that at least this vendor know they must do better. And I think this is something that can help government moving forward.
Great suggestion. I want to come now to our audience. I'd love to hear from the leaders in the room. I'd love to hear from anybody who is front-facing and working in customer service. Any comments, any questions that you may have? Don't be shy. The mic is right there in the middle. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marva Greenwich from the St. Lucia and Seaports Authority. Excellent panel and excellent discussion this morning. And of course, excellent host. Question for about 3 of you. Could you just share with us any time you received customer service which was not of the level, or to put it simply, terrible customer service, and how did you handle it? Again, how did any of you, a time when you received horrible customer service, and how did you address it? Thank you.
I'd like to go first.
I like starting with the positive first. There was one incident where I went into a banking institution, and I was very impressed with the young lady who dealt with me. So I found it to be excellent customer service. However, while I was seated waiting to meet the officer, she was on the phone, and I'm hearing her saying to the person on the phone, and she's angry. I told you the child is sick. I told you I have to take him to the doctor. I need $200 to take him to the doctor. That's what she said. What I'm saying is, I'm sure if I had to talk to her as far as she was concerned, it was excellent customer service. For me, it was not. And we have to remember, customer service is an experience that the customer experiences. So as she did everything right initially, but that experience of on the phone, I did not need to be exposed to that. And so I tell people, if you understand, and that's a beautiful thing, if you understand an experience, then you need to think of what are they seeing? What are they hearing? What are they smelling? If there's taste involved, what are they tasting? Right? It's a full experience. And too many times I think we forget that. We do one aspect of it and we don't do the other aspect of it. And so generally that is what I experience. So you're expecting good customer service if you want, but another employee is in the back and they must be bad talking either the employer or the manager, don't even realizing that is impacting my experience. So the bad experiences I have had is usually something like that, where a sense is not being taken into consideration and I'm being impacted by it.
Mr. Elliott, I'd love for you to weigh in on this conversation.
Thanks for putting me on the spot. Thanks, Marva, for that question you asked. And the interesting thing was, it really made me think, when have I had a bad experience, and how did I deal with it? And, I have to, God, boy, I can't tell a lie, so I have to be honest here. And I think it's an indictment against myself that if I go out somewhere and I have a bad experience, I'm actually likely to not take any action. And I'm likely to not take any action because, and I think it's an indictment against the system by and large, because I feel that nothing is going to change. And so you really made me think. On the flip side of that, I very often don't have bad experiences. But that generally happens because of my approach. I'm going to come in and I'm going to find something about you, whoever I'm dealing with, to bring to your attention in a way that you were not expecting. So it goes beyond being just a compliment. It really is that engagement. And it made me think of a situation I had some time ago. And interestingly enough, I needed to get a passport renewed. So God, I remember going up those stairs. But I also had to get my ID card replaced because it had expired. And I went into the ID card office. I think I'd done a little bit of research online. I knew that you needed to pay and you needed to wait, I don't know what it was, a couple of days or whatever. And I went into the office and I said, look, I need to get this done and I need to get it done in a hurry. I am prepared to pay double the money. They were so taken with that approach that they actually processed it right away for me. I waited for like maybe half an hour, and then I said, okay, now I'm ready to pay. And they go, no, we're not going to charge you. So I go to all of those places just to share my experience, but really starting out with that thought, or that sharing this, that if I go especially into a public service office and I have bad service, I'm likely to not. You know, maybe I might speak to someone privately about it, maybe someone from the office, but very often I'm likely to not complain because I'm worried that nothing will be done. And that's an indictment against us as a nation.
Is there anybody? Yeah.
So, Ms. Bridget, to answer your question, my life is filled with wonderful moments of experiences. I take every experience as a teachable moment for me because I'm a life learner. In May, I think it was sometime earlier, no, it was earlier than May. I think it was in January, I had a problem with immigration. I had applied for an emergency passport for my daughter. We were traveling to Barbados to the embassy, so I needed some type of documentation for her to come back into the country. She's only 13. So I went in there, filled in the application, and the young lady asked me for the flight information. I gave her all the information, and she launched the application and told me I can come back in 2 to 3 working days. I came back in 5 days. And in 5 days when I came back, they told me it was not ready. She told me check next week. So next week I came back. Next week when I came back, I went to the counter and the young lady said to me, oh, today is not collections day. So I said to her kindly, can you tell me which day is collections day because I have no idea. Oh, well, I don't know, by the way, that document you have, it's not on that counter. You need to go to the other counter. So I was a little bit confused at the time and I said to someone at the other counter, is there a supervisor that I can speak to explain to me what my next step should be? Fortunately for me, the sergeant heard, because I'm a little bit of a loudspeaker, not violent, but I speak loudly.
Assertive.
Yes. So the sergeant came out to me and we went into a little corner and then I told him what my grievances were after making 2 trips to Castries to come here and nobody told me what it is or when I can get this document. He explained to me that the document is only issued, I think, 2 to 3 days before taking flight. Other than that, it's null and void. So I got it. So at that time, I seized the opportunity to sell myself as a trainer because one of the things I felt they needed to bridge the gap was to manage customers' expectations, to let the customer know what the next step will be. And if you do not know yourself, find out from the person who knows. Unfortunately for me, it worked in my favor. I actually did training for them a few months later.
Cecilia,
maybe I should speak up then.
Does any... Oh. Go ahead.
Not about an experience, though, in terms of a situation we had at my office or at my institution some time ago. I'm not sure if you ever experienced that. When a problem occurs, departments tend to blame each other. So you have an experience with loans, and loan says it was customer service, and customer service says it was the tellers. Now, what we did at the time was to implement something called cross-functional teams. So we put a team together of persons from each department to work together to come up with solutions that were more applicable and easier to implement. Now, I find that can work as well within government, because my experience, I'm sure your experience as well, has been that you go to customs and customs says Bureau of Standards, and Bureau of Standards says it's immigration and so forth. So they blame each other. So I think a feasible solution to that is to form cross-functional teams as well. So what that does is two things. It gets persons to appreciate how what they do impacts, whether positively or negatively, on other departments. And you get an appreciation of how you can work together to come up with solutions that are easier to implement and that you also embrace as well. So in terms of a recommendation and in terms of how we can resolve that, is that we need to better understand how our input impacts and contributes to the functionality and efficiency within the entire service. So cross-functional teams can help with that.
You wanted to say something?
Definitely, cross-functional teams are highly recommended. Just something to be said about that. And that is something when you're trying to produce a management, when you implement a management system that is effective and efficient, one of the things you want to avoid is that blame game. And so even the way we record issues is very important. By the way, any organization who is on a journey of improvement should have what we call an issue log, right? Where you are recording issues. But when you are recording the issues, avoid pointing out who did it. And that's our reaction. Normally when something happens, first thing we say, who did it? We need to get out of that. What went wrong is your question. And focus on making the process better. Because the minute you start saying who did it, then people become defensive, it's about blame, and they don't want to share the issues. We need people to share the issues. Because what we're not understanding is a customer comes in and they experience staff 1. They had an issue with staff 1. They come in another time, they have the same issue, but this time with a staff 2. And they come in again, they have it with a staff 3. So they have experienced it 3 times. But as far as those staff members are concerned, this is the first time you experience that. Relax yourself. We need to start documenting the issues, but not about blaming, it's about correcting the process. Very important.
Thank you. We have another question from the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. What an awesome presentation we've had this morning, and a very apt moderator as well. Linnell Malzer, Director of Innovation. In my experience, I've come to appreciate that not every smile in a customer experience is exactly a good thing. By and large, in St. Lucia, we think that people need to, smile when you come in. It is welcoming. But I rather someone who's competent and able to take me through the experience, like you explained, as opposed to having someone smile and I'm not getting through, if you know what I mean. Yes, so my questions, I have 2 questions today. The first is, we're aware that the focus of this panel is productivity in the public sector. And the public sector does have its monitoring and evaluation process with appraisals that happen twice in a year. However, we still face these challenges. My assumption may be it's the learning process after the monitoring and evaluation process that may be the issue. If that be the case, what are your recommendations to that process that may be able to alleviate some of the challenges and increase productivity? And my second question would be, to what extent do you think the relationships and experiences of the internal customer, I am a head of a department, I have a team, so to what extent are my relationships with them and my experience with them influential to their ability to be a better customer service representative of the Innovation Division? Thank you.
Who would like to take the first one?
Let me answer quickly, because it's something that bothers me quite a bit as a trainer. Where sometimes I don't get the opportunity to do direct feedback with those persons that I have trained, but what I do understand sometimes happen is that people receive training, learning how to do the job in a particular department, and by the time the training is over, they are shifted to another ministry. So the process of learning has to start all over again. I think this is very dangerous, if you ask me, because I believe, as a competency-based education and training individual, I believe that not that people must not move up, people must always strive to move up upward mobility. But when training is done, a person has to be able to strengthen that skill in that particular role before moving around. And I find a lot of the times, a lot of the young people who work in customer service, I may be wrong, but a lot of them who I know that I have trained, as soon as the training is over, they shift them to another department. So those new people who come there are still creating sometimes a first bad impression because they have not mastered the skills for that particular role that they play in that particular ministry. Because every ministry offers a different type of service, and so there are certain skills, soft skills that must come with the services. So for example, a person working in the office where you go for a death certificate to bury a loved one, this person must understand what empathy is so that they can be more empathetic and sympathetic to that person at that time. So these are some of the things I think that is a little bit mind-bothering for me as a trainer, that people need time after training is done so that they can master the competency, because it comes with practice on the job.
You go ahead, Dr. Hoffley.
That is such a lovely question. And the best and quickest response that I can give to you to that question is what I've been saying all day. And it doesn't matter when a person is self-developed, where they go. Technical skills can be trained. So you move from one department to another, it can be trained. Companies now like LinkedIn, Google, and so on, when they hire people for their technologically based organizations, they are not now hiring them for their technical abilities. They are hiring them for the psychometric kind of skills, their abilities, and so on. So we need, as a nation, as a people, again, in the family, in the community, in the workplace, to develop our people. Provide what is necessary to give them the esteem, the care for others. We do not generally have that. If I care, make doing good the thing that makes you feel good. We need to instill that into our people. That customer service, again, is about the attitude. The focus on the skill is, it is necessary, but that attitude must be there. And so, to answer your question, it is the attitude, it's an internal thing. Otherwise, we're going to keep teaching skills and trying to teach people how to smile and how to shake hands and how to go through particular technical stuff, and it's not going to work. We keep doing that. We need to develop our people.
Just to add to this, again, it is about competence inclusive of attitude. And the mistake we are making is that most times we send only frontline people for customer service training. That's a mistake we're making. And I am sure all the trainers here will tell you, every time you send the frontline people, they leave saying, but my supervisor should be trained in this thing. My manager should be trained in this thing. So another thing, and we are unleashing incompetent people onto the public. We need to stop doing that. Customer service has to be part of orientation, part of onboarding, period.
Mr. Laura?
Right. Just to speak to your first question in terms of that there are systems in place where you monitor and you evaluate staff. The issue I found even in my organization is that the issue lies with the supervisors and the leaders. We are not fair in the assessments that we do. And when we discover the problems because of relationships, we are afraid to implement the changes that are necessary. So the problem festers and it doesn't go away. Persons who we know give bad customer service or underperformance get glowing appraisals. And we wonder why the problem persists. So the issue really lies with leadership and supervision. When you discover the problems, when you have persons who don't perform, be man or woman enough or leader enough to deal with it decisively.
I think somebody said, I think you said it that maybe, or somebody said it's maybe just about 1% or maybe more of staff that's not delivering as they should. Something I do, which I find works, is when it comes to lateness. So I will have a 2-day training session, and anybody who was trained with me know I give chips and there's an incentive at the end. And so be assured that there will be fewer people late on the second day because there's an incentive. So I think we need to now stop focusing on those who are not doing it right. Let's focus and recognize those who are doing it right. There are persons out there who are exhibiting exceptional customer service. And sometimes that's what we need. We need a model. You know, we need somebody that they can see what good customer service is. One of the things is I always involve role play. It's amazing what role play does. People actually see it. So I'm saying let's not focus on those who are not doing it well, but let's start recognizing and rewarding those who are doing it well and with information coming from the public.
Yeah, I would like to very quickly just touch on that point. And Betty, you actually spoke to it as well in terms of the chips. I think that in addition to monitoring and evaluation, we should also include a component of rewards. And I speak to the rewards. It reminds me, and I just want to give a little plug here to the Diga Combined School. I was supposed to be down there today for their awards ceremony. Big thing in their calendar, but I said I had to be on this panel and I couldn't split myself. And they come to mind because the principal called me some time ago, sent me a message. Kirk, I'm putting together a rewards for my best performing teachers. I want them to go spend a day at a hotel. Can you reach out to the GM at this hotel for me? And I thought, wow, what a lovely thing. And it ties in because one of the things that I do is I take visitors to the school so that the children can meet tourists. And it's not, so tourism is not something abstract in their minds. And it also allows visitors to touch the core, you know, the heartbeat of St. Lucia. So I come back to that whole idea of, in the public service, how can we create some rewards? And I think hospitality, oh my God, imagine if some rewards were someone, the best performer, being given a day at a hotel, let's just say, you know, or on an island experience. And now we're really talking customer service, and we can tie into that engagement, what was your takeaway? Yeah. So just wanted to give that response.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to take one more question from the floor, or comment, or remark.
Well, excellent panel. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, if it's already afternoon. Customer service. I'm looking at the theme here. I go back to the theme, raising the bar. Reimagining customer service for a more productive public sector. I will say a few things that probably some of us would shy away from, or probably not want to say, or don't have the will to say. There is that attitude in the public sector, public service, where they can't fire me. They will transfer me. Well, transfer me if you want. So you have a proliferation of poor service being given or rendered, and they cannot fire me. So where do we go with that? That's one. I interact with the public service, we all do, or with the public sector, we all do. And I believe it's a situation where managers are not managing. And even when you have managers managing, they're not, in my humble opinion, managing properly, effectively, objectively. And I can go on and on. Where is the understanding of the economic impact of poor service and that of good service? And if we understand the economic impact on what we do, then we all would be doing in the public service what we should be doing Because when everything goes well, we all benefit. I also want to say, we talk about training in the public service. Well, the rubber has to meet the road. If I were to ask a lot of us here, when was the last time we had a training? And if I just asked somebody and they said this year, and I asked her, before this year, when was the last time your unit or your department had some training? I can't remember. I want to say, where are the managers to look at the logistics of even where you place people? We talk about somebody having to climb steps only to find out that on the basement, someone should have told her ex and not having to go upstairs. Inefficiencies. Where are the managers to look at the inefficiencies and the poor logistics of stuff in the public service? I have to pay something here, then walk to Waterfront to collect a document, come back here, then go to Union, get it stamped, and go. Logistics. And there is a cost to all of that. Where are the managers to understand that time is money, we often say. Now, if time is money, money is time. Why is it taking so long in the public service to get simple things done? We have stories where you have to wait weeks and months to get a police report, days to get a birth certificate, days and weeks to get a death certificate to bury your loved one. The rubber must meet the road, and I believe it's a situation where managers aren't managing well. The issue I want to touch on lastly is that of empathy. Square pegs in wrong holes, political interference. We don't want to talk about it, but it's all over. It's real, and there are cost implications. Empathy. You have a little senior persons. My lady said she's fighting with menopausal issues. It's a reality. Men as well go through some. People have to leave the south to come up to the north 3-4 times a week to get a simple task done. Wait on long lines outside in the sun or rain. Where is the manager to manage and see, hey, we need to put this there, shift this there, put this person closer to the door. Then you have a natural progression of things. I believe after 46 years, after 46 years of independence, how is it that we were not a little Singapore yet? How? We often boast, and it irks me, we often boast that we have 2 Nobel laureates, highest per capita in the world. But so after 46 years of independence, we have a lot of bad management going on, and there are cost implications for all of us. This is what I have to say.
Thank you. I think those are some really impassioned comments that represent a lot of what the public has to say. You heard it in the video earlier. You heard it from him. I think it speaks a lot to the need to raise that bar, and that is the only way we're going to make our public sector more productive. It's not a case of, or it should not be a case of, I cannot get fired, or I'll be transferred, or you come to training just for the lunch. Much work to be done. I think we have really come to an understanding with our 6 really amazing panelists. This is a conversation that can last all day. This is a conversation that can last all month. This might just be part 1. Who knows? Sending it out there into the universe of public service. This is perhaps one of the most important discussions that we have had in St. Lucia all year. This is something that is not only going to impact the people providing the service, but those receiving the service. This has the potential to change the face of public services in St. Lucia. We are on the world stage. St. Lucia is becoming one of those, Cook can tell you, everybody wants to come to St. Lucia. And we should not think that the people who are coming to St. Lucia are only going to be dealing with the private sector. We should not think that the citizens of St. Lucia don't deserve better because in some instances they have nowhere else to go. There is much work to be done. I think this was only the beginning. I'm very heartened. I'm sure that all of you listening are. And I think I saw a lot of note-taking, which I'm very happy about. I think everybody now has to play their individual roles, as Dr. Otley and Ms. Combi alluded to all session long, and be the change that we really need to see in the public sector. And so I've been Nelsia Shalmang, and this has been a thought-provoking discussion on raising the bar, reimagining customer service for a more productive public sector. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Nelsia, for that suggestion. It's not just the discussion, but I believe we should continue and to take action to ensure that we have that productive public sector that we're looking forward to. So good morning, everyone. The protocol has already been established. I'd like to acknowledge Cabinet Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Digazo, as well as the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Ms. Esther Rigobert. This morning, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Despite the inclement weather, we all showed up and exercised some resilience by being present and participating in this important activity. Our theme this year for Productivity Awareness Week, Navigating Through Disruption, Resilience, the Engine for Productivity. It was actually selected to reflect and find solutions on the urgent need for St. Lucia to remain agile, forward-focused in the face of persistent global and domestic challenges. But it first starts with our people as our most important resource to provide the necessary skills and services by maintaining a positive attitude and outlook even when faced with difficult customers or challenging situations. With this being the culminating activity for our week of activities, I would like to thank each panelist for your insightful contribution towards this activity, and we look forward to a more resilient, customer-focused, and productive public sector. Thank you, and on behalf of the NCPC, in collaboration with the Office of the Prime Minister and the Department of Public Service, I would like to present each of you with a token of appreciation for your contribution towards today's activity. Thank you, everyone.
Good day, everyone, again. As we close, I'll be giving the vote of thanks. So today marks a significant milestone in our ongoing journey towards enhancing the quality of customer service that is delivered to members of the public. It is my honor to deliver the vote of thanks on this important occasion. On behalf of the Office of the Prime Minister and the Department of Public Service, I extend our sincere gratitude to our distinguished panelists, Dr. Ernest Otley, Mrs. Betty Combi, Ms. Cecilia Fitz, Mrs. Celestine Laura, Ms. Rosalind Maffer, and Mr. Cook Elliott. for their invaluable contributions. Your expert insights and your guidance will undoubtedly play a crucial role in advancing the customer service experience that we provide. I would also like to express my appreciation to Ms. Nelsia Shalmine for her exceptional role as a moderator. Your engaging and dynamic presence has greatly enriched our experience. I am grateful to our Cabinet Secretary for his visionary leadership and steadfast commitment to driving meaningful improvements in our customer service delivery. Additionally, I wish to acknowledge the invaluable support and assistance from Ms. Janet Bernard, Permanent Secretary of the Department of Public Service, as well as our Permanent Secretary, Ms. Esther Rigobert, whose dedication has been instrumental in making this panel discussion a success. I would also like to thank the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council for inviting the Office of the Prime Minister and the Department of the Public Service to participate in Productivity Awareness Week, and for their continued support in enhancing our collective efforts. We would also like to thank our customer service attendants. They are not really attendants, but they are playing the role, because one of the things that we really wanted to do was to showcase something different. You know, we said, but perhaps in the public service, what if we had customer service attendants? That when you walk into a ministry, you are greeted by wonderful persons, these individuals, and they are there to serve you and assist you with your needs. So I want to thank Ms. Janelle Peter, Jonelle Augustine, and Sephra Maximus for your service. Thank you. We also want to thank Ms. Suan Emmanuel from the Department of the Public Service for your invaluable assistance and support throughout the journey. And last but certainly not least, a heartfelt thank you to all our invited guests. Thank you. Your engagement and commitment today reflects a shared dedication towards improving our customer service experience for all. So thank you all very much. And also, there are refreshments on the outside, so please, after this, help yourself. Thank you.